What is up, guys? I'm still getting ready. I'm still preparing for the show. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. All right, let's time travel to the 2000s, baby. I got something in my throat. Jeez. Ugh. Gotta keep a drink. Got a drink right next to me. Gotta stay hydrated. Know what I mean? Just wait a few minutes for people to come in. I'm currently at BuzzFeed. I don't usually use BuzzFeed, but they had an article in the 2000s that I wanted to go over. So we got a list of things here to talk about because sometimes your boy Andy forgets things, and it's good to have a reminder here. All right. All right, all right, all right, baby. All right, so we are going to start. How are we going to start this? We are going to start with 2000s Cartoon Network shows. Right? 2000s Cartoon Network shows. So I'm going to tell you what it was like. What did it feel like to live in the 2000s? Because it was, you fast forward to today, and everything, it feels so different. It feels so different. I would say that life has definitely gotten easier. Life is not as difficult. And when I say life, I'm talking about, I guess, like, I don't know if I should say the quality of living. I would say the quality of living has gotten easier because of technology. You can order groceries. Today you can order groceries from from the internet, from Amazon or Peapod or whatever kind of service you use, right? The technology is literally in your hands with your phone, with your smartphone, and you can you have access to everything. There was no fast internet in the early 2000s. It wasn't until like 2008, 2007, 2008 really. And honestly, I did not have a laptop. I mean, I used my aunt and uncle's computer, desktop, but I was using my uncle's desktop most of the time, and I would use my friend's computer because he had a computer in his house. I did not have a laptop until, let's say, how long? I did not have a laptop until like 2009. About 2009, 2010. That's when I got my first laptop. So yeah, imagine that. Imagine waiting that long to have your first laptop. Because I was broke. I came from a poor family. You guys, yeah. I was broke. They couldn't afford a lot of things back then. All right. So I'm going to talk about some of the shows on Cartoon Network. What was it like back then? So I'm here at IMDb 2000s cartoon shows. It shows a whole bunch of shows. So Saturday morning. You guys have no idea how lucky you are today because you turn on your computer. All you need is internet connection for $50 a month. Some people pay like $80 a month for internet. But back then we had to pay cable, right? Either you had a cable box for like $100 a month or something like that, or $80 a month, Or some people pay like $150 a month. I was paying like 120, 150 dollars a month for freaking cable television. But back in the 2000s, you had to pay cable, and and you had like about how many? There was like an average of like 50 channels. I'm gonna say, all the way from channel, I think Cartoon Network. I think it was in channel 30, channel 32. I don't remember, but you had to tune into a channel in order to, watch TV. Yeah, I believe Cartoon Network was in channel 32. I think it went from channel 12 to channel 32. I forgot. Yeah, so back then, I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like now people can just turn on your computer and watch whatever kinds of videos you want. And back then, you had to pay for cable for cable, unless you just get like a satellite, like an antenna. Anybody remember antennas? Do you guys even know what antennas are? Yes, they were a thing. We used to put antennas on our television. Our big booty, I call it big booty televisions that look like this. Where is it? 2000s TV. You see these? This big ass box TVs. Yeah, these things right here. These motherfuckers. Yeah. You see these? These were televisions. This big, but they were heavy. They were heavy too. These were televisions, and the reason why it's so big is because from the back of the TV to the front, it shoots pixels onto the screen, and that's how you would watch your channels, right? That was broadcast back then. Hold on, I'm getting a message. That was broadcasting back then. I mean, it was revolutionary for its time, of course. And that's what we watch. Give me a second, guys. Somebody's like texting me. What the heck? My cell phone's so slow. But yeah, that's where we will watch TV. And hold on a second. All right. So, anyways, yeah, that's how we will watch TV. You have to turn on your own TV. I remember I had one of these TVs. I think it was an Emerson TV. The freaking buttons will sink in. Oh my god, this was so annoying. The buttons will sink in. And I had to get like a little stick to put it into where the buttons were, and like to change the channels and turn on the TV. It was so annoying, man. Because when these things got busted, like when the buttons, sunk in or whatever, you had to work with it or buy a new one. You had to either get an antenna, get a cable box, get something. And yeah, man. So yeah, but back then there was no option. You watch whatever was on TV, you had to watch it. If you turn on Cartoon Network at 2 p.m., you had to watch whatever was there. And if your favorite show was coming on later tonight, you had to wait until that time. And yeah, you had to wait until that time to actually watch it. And if you missed an episode, of, let's say, like an anime episode or like a new episode that came out, you would have to wait until like later that day where they would show reruns, or you would have to wait until like next week when they will like run the same episode again. It was very common for these shows to have reruns continuously every week on TV. Yeah. So Scooby-Doo was huge. I used to watch a lot of Scooby-Doo back then on Cartoon Network. Yeah, so Foster Home for Imaginary Friends, that shit didn't come until like later in the mid 2000s, and I did not like it. I don't know. After like 2005, a lot of the cartoon shows that were coming out were just whack, and it's just I did not like the humor. I did not like the art style. Dexter's Laboratory was hugely popular. The Powerpuff Girls were hugely popular. Courage the Cowardly Dog. I mean, that was the shit back then. Johnny Bravo. Johnny Bravo. Ed and Eddie was tremendously popular up until 2008 when it was the last episode ran. Codename Kiss's Door. I was not a big fan of Codename Kiss's Door, but there was one episode where they were like it was like a parody of Dragon Ball Z, and one of the characters turned Super Saiyan. But Codename Kiss's Door, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Teen Titans. Teen Titans, you can tell. I mean, like back then, we actually had absolutely no idea that Teen Titans was inspired by anime, at least the drawing style. I mean, you take a look at Teen Titans, and you can tell right away. Well, I mean, I can't really zoom in here, but dang it. You can tell from the drawing style that it was inspired by anime. And then, of course, there's Tom and Jerry, the classic American cartoons, Looney Tunes, the Bugs Bunny Show. You get it. Dragon Tales. I mean, this is for children. Oh, yeah. Hi, Hi, Puffy, Amy, Yumi. This show was about, like, two Japanese girls. It says it follows two famous Japanese rock stars reacting to event their lives, their fans, and adventure. Yeah, so it was like about these two Japanese girls, and it was like about their life as rock stars. I did not like it. I thought it was freaking whack. But it was one of the first things that it was one of the first times that I actually saw Japanese people on American television. One of the first times, at least in Cartoon Network, because Puffy and Yumi, they would like show up from time to time, right? Totally Spies was definitely inspired by anime. If you look at the art style of Totally Spies, like right away this was inspired by anime. Like the style, the drawing style. You do not see a lot of cartoons that are at this level of anatomical precision. Like this is American made, but it's so well drawn. And this is supposed to be like a show for girls. I still watch it. I didn't give a shit. See, I watch anything that looks closely to anime. But this is when American cartoons were just absolutely great. And let me go back. Dang it, what the heck? Come on. Go back. Go back, darn it. Back to the list. There we go. And then Pinky in the Brain. Yeah, so waking and the best time to watch cartoons was Saturday morning, Saturday a.m. And it was Saturday in the morning. That's when all the shows were running. Kids WB, of course. Kids WB. Where is it? Kids WB. And on Kids WB, there will be a lot of anime. There would be a lot of it was Pokemon would play on the Kids WB. Yu-Gi-Oh. I think who was it? All right, there's people joining the chat now. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh would play on Kids WB. What else? Yeah, was many Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, a whole bunch of other shows. Whole bunch of other shows. Hold on, I'm like multitasking here. All right, and then where's the Toonamie? Yeah, the shows on Toonamie. Toonamie was legendary. Toonamie was such a great show. What the heck is it? And Toonamie has changed. Toonamie has changed so much. I haven't watched Toonamie in a long, long freaking time, man. Because I don't have cable anymore. I don't use cable. You know, I gave up cable. Now I'm just on the internet. I'm on the internet, and my television is YouTube, Netflix, and I think Amazon Prime Video. Sometimes I use this. Tubi. I use Tubi. And it wasn't until like 2008. I think you know Cartoon Network and you know all those shows they really died out in 2008. After 2008, that's when Cartoon Network started experimenting with like live action shows, and it just did not go well. Okay, so Chaos Smash said Toonami has gone bad. Really? I'm looking at the chat right now, by the way. Okay, I mean, look at the shows. These are the shows from the. Hold on, where is it? Where the 2000s expand? All right, so shows. All right, here's a list of shows that they would play in the 2000s. Right, so February 2022, if you look at here, 2000 to March 3 lineup. So at 4 p.m. it will be Sailor Moon, Reboot, which is a really good show. This was a 3D show back then. At 5 o'clock, Dragon Ball Z. 5:30, Ronin Warriors, right? And there will be more. You know, Toonami was was obviously much more shows than that. And then in the morning, Toonami would have like a whole bunch of shows. Super Friends, they'll play the Super Friends, some Dragon Ball episodes, Thundercats, Gundam Wing, Ronin Warriors, Batman. See, the morning time was the time to watch it, man. Dragon Ball Z. They will play a lot of Dragon Ball Z, Super Friends, Gundam Wing, and you would just kind of watch reruns. You know, you would watch a lot of reruns. That's why people used to remember episodes like crazy. People were really good at remembering episodes back then. Oh, well, this happened in this episode of Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon and shit, right? It was so different. All right, so Chaos Smash says, I don't know too much, nor remember what was told to me, but I do believe it's not the Toonami anybody remembers. Really. But you see, that's the thing. A lot of things have changed, and that's why a lot of people are just cutting, they're just cutting the cable. People are just leaving cable behind. They get internet connection and just watch and just look for whatever it is that they want. So, all right, so moving on from Toonami, that's what it was like. And back then, there was a lot of great shows, a lot of great shows. And I'm not just talking about anime, like, American television was great. American cartoons were great. There was one of my favorite was Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest and Reboot was one of my favorite freaking shows. And actually, let me show you guys here. Do you guys remember Johnny Quest cartoon? Yeah, freaking Johnny Quest. This right here. This motherfucker right here. And the great thing about this show, is that it was actually you know how like a lot of people complain and they talk shit about diversity and inclusion. Guess what? This show was actually very, very diverse and inclusive. I mean, they had I think this is like a Hindu kid. They had a Hindu kid in this show. Back then, this was like in the early 2000s and in the 90s. Another show that was really cool was Reboot. This freaking show right here. I mean, you look at the 3D graphics here. These are not the best 3D graphics, but this show was really good. I mean, it had a really cool story, and it was basically these characters living inside a computer world, right? And when the user would insert a game, they would all have to play. right? But Reboot, this is a really cool show. Really cool show from the early 2000s. Um, I was in Thundar cartoon. No, Thundar. Shoot, I forgot the name of that cartoon show. Crap. But anyways, let's see, Cartoon Network, Toonamie, Anime Boom. Yeah, so the reason why we have an anime boom today, it was because of Toonamie. You know, Disney could have come in and conquered anime because back then they were introducing a lot of animated films from Japan like Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli's Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away. Disney brought them over to America, right? And because they brought these really successful anime, that they could have brought in more anime, and they could have been the granddaddy of anime in America, but they failed. They were only focusing on Studio Ghibli. That was like the only real Japanese studio that they were doing business with. Outside of that, Disney back then they had their own animation, so they really didn't care for anime. But now they've done a complete 360. Ah, yes, that's it. Thundar the Barbarian. Yeah, Thundar the Barbarian. I forgot the freaking name. Yeah, actually, let me go back and check it. So Thundar the Barbarian. Yes, this freaking show right here. This show. I mean, look at this. This was American cartoons back then, and even for back then. Hold on, wait, I'm trying to get a bigger picture here. Yeah. Even for back then, this was really cool. This was great. This was great. If they would have kept this going, we wouldn't have all these problems or so many people complaining about American cartoons like we do today. I wish they would go back to this at least, at least. And then of course there was the Anime Network channel. If you've had the Anime Network channel in your household, please let me know. Comment in the chat. And I always had to go to my friend's house because it turns out that my friend had his mom worked at Cablevision, the cable company, and then so he got Cablevision for free, and so I would go to his house and watch cartoons and watch anime. So I had a whole where is it? Where's the Wikipedia page I saved here? Here we go. Yeah, so the Anime News Network said Anime Network no longer offers streaming content. Visit our friends at High Dive to continue. Yeah, so back then Anime Network, that's what they used to be called, and now they changed. I guess now they're now High Dive. Yeah, so Chaos said even if Disney brought in other anime, it still wouldn't have gone well if they kept going to this year. Probably, yeah. You're most likely right, my friend. Most likely. Yeah, so Anime News Network back then, this was the shit. This was like the go-to place for anime. I remember this was the first time I watched Evangelion on the Anime News Network. And a whole bunch of shows. I saw the Final Fantasy the Final Fantasy anime from back then. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was still, it was pretty cool watching it for back then. That's where I found out about Chobits. I found out about Love Hina, a whole bunch of anime. Yeah. But the great thing about being an adult is that now you can afford all those things. You can actually afford all those things with barely any time to use it. So Anime Network was yeah. So like I said, in back then, we didn't have the internet that we have today. We didn't have all those piracy anime streaming website like what was it, Anime Freak TV, or what's it called? Go Go Anime, where you will watch anime for free on the internet. Right? The only place to watch TV, you had to sit down in front of the TV. Okay, you had to sit down in front of the TV, and that was it. There was no other option. There was no other option. Either you have to wait Saturday mornings or late night Cartoon Network for Toonamie, or tell your mom, your parents to get a cable box so that you can watch Anime Network, and that was it, man. That was freaking it. And now, anime conventions. Hold on, let me see. Anime conventions, 2000s. I couldn't find a lot of this, but yeah, anime conventions back then, they were not very, they were not very popular because it was just too early. Like I think I'm not sure when the first anime convention was. I think it was in the 90s. But anime conventions have changed a lot. And actually, here's a picture. Here's a bunch of kids cosplaying Princess Mononoke. Yeah, actually, yeah. Crunchyroll started out as a piracy website, and then it became a legal website. Wow, this looks very old. This looks very old here. Yeah, but conventions, you back then you would not see conventions packed, like just packed with 30,000, 50,000, 60,000 people. I mean, recently in August, in August, July, I went to Anime Matsuri in Houston, Texas, and that shit was packed. Now, thank God that the place was actually pretty big and it could contain 60,000 people. However, back then, you would not see huge events like we do now. You did not see huge events like we do now. And also because I was broke and I was poor, I actually never went to an anime convention in the 2000s. It wasn't until 2012 that I actually went to my first convention in Comic Con, and then after that, I became an all-out geek. Anime conventions in the 2000s. Yeah, and also back then, people would actually collect, anime DVDs, and actually you could find, and there was also a lot of you could go if you go into like an Asian store, like an Asian DVD store, that you would also find a lot of, what's the word, like a lot of bootleg anime movies. Right? I remember I bought Urusei Yatsura at the VHS. I actually bought the VHS from this corner store. Trying to see FYE was selling DVDs. Yeah, so people, anime was not easy to find outside of Cartoon Network. Yeah, so anime was not easy to find outside of Cartoon Network. You had to go to the video store. There was still Blockbuster. Blockbuster was still around. Where is it? Blockbuster. I had an article here. What the heck is it? Yeah, Blockbuster was still around, and I couldn't find any pictures of it. Darn it. Right, Blockbuster was still around. When it was a thing before it went out of business. Before Netflix went and put it out of business. You can actually find anime on Blockbuster. I actually knew a guy who would order. He would order anime. I think this was like in the 2005 2006. He would order anime from the internet and have it delivered to his house. And back then it would take a long time for that shit to to be delivered. But see, I actually looked down on anime in high school, and it took a long time. Really? Yeah, there were actually a lot. There were actually people that still looked down on anime back in the 2000s. It really wasn't until like the 2010s that it really became super duper popular. It became super duper popular, and there were people that did not like anime, especially like the boomers, because they were so used to like, the American animation style, right? And they just didn't think it was as cool as the American stuff. But you can find back then you could find anime on Blockbuster. You had to go to some video store, the FYEs, some video store to get anime. If you were not in front of the TV, and back then you could not get it on what is it? On you could not get it on the internet very so easily. And it also depended how fast was your internet, because if you had slow internet, you will be sitting there all day waiting for a video to load on GoGo Anime or whatever. I tell you, the technology has advanced so fast. Technology moves at the speed of light. Back then, you had to wait for images. I remember in my school computer, when I was in, I think, the 7th or 8th grade, my school computer would take forever to load. Like, I will look up Dragon Ball Z pictures, and it will take like damn, how long? It will take like hours and hours to load, man. All right, so what do you say here? Yeah, I remember Blockbuster. There's one more Blockbuster that's still around in Bend, Oregon. I'm still serving. Wow. Yeah, man. And all right, so we talked about a lot about anime. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards. So the popularity of Yu-Gi-Oh cards was actually more popular in the 2000s than it is now. Okay, Yu-Gi-Oh was so much more popular back then. The Yu-Gi-Oh now, Yu-Gi-Oh today, like the popularity of Yu-Gi-Oh now does not compare to back then. Yu-Gi-Oh I think it became like $1 billion industry right next to Pokemon, because the cards sell, man. They sell cards, man. Also, Pokemon card. I mean, the Pokemon card was not as popular. Really, the video games were more. But Yu-Gi-Oh as a card game was bigger than Magic. It was way bigger than Magic. It was the number one freaking card game back then. And actually, if you play Magic the Gathering, and if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, you will see that a lot of the things that you do in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's actually things that you do in Magic the Gathering. But as the year passed by, I kind of got more respect for Magic the Gathering, because it's a much slower game and you get to enjoy it more. Yeah, but Yu-Gi-Oh, man, Yu-Gi-Oh was the shit back then. Hold on. I wanted to say something about the malls. Yeah, American malls. So I've been looking at videos of about malls, and in the 2000s, because we did not have all this technology, you had to get up and go to the mall. You had to get up and go to the mall. Going to the mall was really cool. I remember me and my friends used to go and talk to girls at the mall. I was shy. I was too freaking shy. I had no game whatsoever back then. But going to the mall was a must. You know, the kids don't go to the mall nowadays. I mean, I don't understand. And a lot of malls are being closed. But back then, like outside of school and work, the mall was the place to go if you wanted to socialize. Your friends, you and your friends will go to the mall. You would meet up at the mall, and then you would hang out there. Even if you didn't buy anything, you would go to the food court. You would eat something, hang out. The mall was really really cool. Some people, working at the mall. And, hold on, let me check the chat. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh actually has become broken. Yeah, so yeah, going to the mall was a big thing. The malls, it was everything, man. When you were a teenager, and you were in high school, the mall was your friend. The mall was your playground. But now you go to the mall and it's empty. The mall is empty. It used to be packed back then. I remember in 2008, I got my second job. My first job was at McDonald's, and then my second job was a Hot Topic. And it was kind of funny because out of all my friends that used to love to go to Hot Topic, I was the only one that ended up working there. Yeah. So, but now a lot of malls are closing. I mean, if we go to YouTube, you look at all these videos about malls. Check out some documentaries on malls. It's the rise and fall of the American shopping mall. Because now the shopping malls are online. They're on the internet. So where else are we gonna hang out? And now people do not get off their asses to go and meet up somewhere. Now people get on Discord. People get on Discord. People get on, what is it, Zoom calls. People get on online chats. People, nobody wants to meet up anymore. And then in the future, we're gonna have the metaverse, which I hate to say it, but I really do think it might become popular. And to be fair, maybe not Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, maybe something else in place of the metaverse. Shooting. Yeah, so there's a lot of companies that are taking these and they're just taking them. Like I think they're just taking them into entertainment centers. Because what else are you gonna do with all this space? It's a lot of space, man. What else are you gonna do with all this space? So the mall was really big, was very very important. It was a place to meet girls. It was a place to meet friends. It was a place to get your first job. But now that has also changed. Back then there was no cell phones. Okay, back then there was wait, hold on. Where the heck? Where the heck? Come on. Okay, so I had this picture here. Back then there was no cell phone, okay? There was no cell phone, and it took a long time to write a text message. It took a long time to write a text message. That's why people got those keyboard cell phones, right? So texting in the 2000s, it sucked. It freaking sucked. You had the little flip phone. You had the little flip phones back then, and it and then it actually back then it became to cheat on people. Yeah, it actually became easier. No, I wouldn't say easier. No, I think I wouldn't. No, actually, no. Excuse me. I wouldn't say easier, but like this was the beginning. This was the beginning of people started breaking up through text messages. People breaking up through text messages, right? Ugh. Man, the 2000s. I mean, and that was only the beginning, man. That was only the beginning. I think the very very first flip phone or smartphone. I think it came out in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. I remember one of my cousins got it. It came out in 2007, and it was from Apple, of course. It was an iPhone. And I remember back then you would hear about people texting while driving and getting into all these accidents. But I mean, but this really changed because if we went from talking on the phone to sending messages, and eventually our phones became computers. I mean, modern day cell phones are computers. It's not a device just for communication. I mean, like now you have a flashlight in your cell phone. We didn't have that back then. You have a calculator in your cell phone. We didn't have that. You have an internet browser in your cell phone. You can play video games on your cell phone. We did not have any of these things back then. We didn't have any of these things back then. So yeah, it was very different. I mean, things back then were so different. You still had to go out and talk to people. Oh yeah, so I have a bit of a story for you guys. I have a bit of a story because printers were the printers. You know what? Let me just. All right, so back then, believe it or not, back then, in the 2000s, we didn't have color printers. Color printers were very rare. It was very 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 rare to have a color printer. I think only places like the CVS, like the pharmacies who printed out photos, would have color printers. People were still using those cameras or reels until we switched to digital cameras, right? We did not have color printers. Okay, and back then there was this funny thing where if you go, you people will go on the internet and they will print out Dragon Ball pictures, and they would treat Dragon Ball Dragon Ball pictures as currency in school, right? In school. So you could trade food and things for Dragon Ball Z pictures. And if you got one in color, if you got one in color, then then people will give you all kinds of things. You could trade Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and you could trade Pokemon cards with the color, for a colored Dragon Ball Z pictures, because there was nowhere else to get it. There really wasn't a lot of you know, anime merchandise back then. It was kind of sad. It wasn't until like the mid 2000s that places like, I don't know, what's it called? Shoot, what was the name of that store? It just slipped my mind. My God. Yeah, there was not a. It was hard to find anime merchandise. Like you could go to Barnes and Nobles and buy manga. There was Tokyo Pop mangas, but like it was not very easy finding anime merchandise. It was still, you know. Although I will say there was a lot of Harujo manga and anime books. Those were extremely popular. Yeah, the inks were expensive back then, as Chaos Mash says. Ink was very expensive back then. Yeah, but people would trade Dragon Ball Z pictures like it was currency in high schools because, not many people had a printer, and a color printer at that. And ink was very freaking expensive. Texting was not popular. Oh yeah, I wanted to go over some movies. Oh yeah, the Sidekick phone. This was a really popular phone back then. This came out in like the late 2000s. It was like a texting phone. Mm. And this was also around the time where VHS tapes, the VHS tape was becoming extinct, guys. After I would say like around 2004, 2005, that's when people started really switching from VHS to DVDs. Okay, I would go to the library and rarely like the VHS tapes they started disappearing. You know, like like once I finished high school in 2007, like VHS tapes they were like extinct. Like I barely saw them like ever. Not in schools, not in libraries, not anywhere. And the problem with VHS tapes is that these things they could get damaged really easily. Like if you pull out the tape from them, then the movie could be ruined for all we know. Yeah, VHS tapes were becoming extinct. Oh yeah, where is it? Early days of the internet, and then of course, and then there was the CD player in the mid 2000s. We I literally saw people switching from cassette players to CD players. CD players were huge. I got my first. I remember when I got my first one, and then I still remember when you would buy MP3 players. Yes, MP3 players that could only hold like 30 songs in them, like 250 megabytes. Yeah, it was a thing back then. What's the thing? Where is it? I wanted to show you guys this other thing. Oh, okay. Yes, yes. So, websites, popular websites from the 2000s. Popular website from the 2000s. There was MSN Messenger. This was kind of like a news and email type of service. This is what I will use for email. And there was MySpace. MySpace was huge. I mean, honestly, man, I look back at MySpace. With MySpace, we actually had real privacy. Facebook sells your data. With MySpace, we actually had real privacy because in MySpace, you made a user account. You did not give your real name with MySpace. That's the problem. And there was also Bebo, but Bebo, I think Bebo was more for like England. There was a lot of British people that were using Bebo. I did not like Bebo whatsoever. There was Free Weebs, Photo Bucket, DeviantArt. Yeah, that's when DeviantArt first started. And DeviantArt is still around and kicking, man. Neopets. Oh, yeah, RuneScape. We had RuneScape. This was like one of the first multiplayer games back then. This is the very first MMORPG. RuneScape before World of Warcraft. This was before World of Warcraft. It was great. There was Newgrounds. Man, is Newgrounds still around? Newgrounds. Holy crap. Newgrounds is still around? Newgrounds is still around. I wonder if they still have all those hentai games. I cannot believe Newgrounds is still around. Wow. Newgrounds is still around, bro. Maiden Cops. Is this a game? Yeah, they still got like hentai games and shit like that. Pickles Brawl Arena. Chaos Smash said Newgrass is kind of woke nowadays. It did spawn a lot of weirdos and creeps that went to Tumblr. It does. Wow, but Newgrass still alive and kicking? Wow, I know GeoCities. GeoCities was also another one of those that's one of those websites, but now there's like Newgrounds is still alive and kicking. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And honestly, what became of MySpace? MySpace is now a music website. A lot of people actually don't know. MySpace is actually now a music freaking website. This was the go-to place to discover new artists and bands. I remember I discovered a lot of really good heavy metal bands here, a lot of rock bands, a lot of gothic bands. Man, I miss those days. I'm not gonna lie, I miss those days. I did not like growing up as a teenager. I hated being a teenager, but MySpace and the music, the anime back then, man, it made life worthwhile, for God's sakes. I mean, it was great back then. And we abandoned the safety of MySpace for Facebook, for Mark Zuckerberg, for God darn it. And I think, is that all? Yeah, early days of the internet. Newgrounds is still around. MySpace. What about RuneScape? Yeah, I know RuneScape's still around. But RuneScape has changed a lot, obviously. This is the old one. The new one. Well, all right, everybody. Says 2000s movie franchise like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings made me enjoy that decade. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I had a lot of fun talking about the 2000s. Those were the years that I spent as a teenager. They were great years for entertainment. For entertainment, it was great years. There was still a lot of horrible things that happened during those years, like the 9/11, things like that. The war in Iraq, Osama bin Laden. I still remember. But overall, for entertainment, it was great. We got the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, the Xbox, a lot of the new consoles. This was the home consoles. But I do miss the handheld consoles from back then. Very great. All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And I hope you had fun. I hope you had fun. I went over a lot of things from anime back then to technology to the websites that we used back then. And I'm going to try and make another one of these, nostalgic travel back in time videos. But for now, that is all. So thank you guys for joining me. And this is your boy, Andy Matrix, everybody. Good night and Godspeed.